As we continue to talk about runner's knee, now we're looking at the hip, the joint above the knee, and what kind of impact that has on there. And specifically, we want to talk about strength and stability. So when we run, it's basically a one-legged stance movement, right? When we come up, that is actually the literal definition of running compared to race walking is one foot has to be off the ground at all times. So when that leg comes up, this foot that's planted is actually holding this hip up. Once that starts to fatigue, this hip's going to drop. And one way you can always tell of this is look at your look at your last race and look at that close to finish photo that they usually do that's a quarter or half mile out. And look at your form. If you've got one where your foot's on the ground, your hips are probably tilted and you're going to have a couple different issues there. But what we're specifically looking at with runner's knee and how this impacts this is once that hip drops, our tendency is to have a little bit of inward rotation of that femur. So now our knee's going towards the inside. How to keep us propelling forward and how we compensate for this is we get a rotation outward of the tibia or the shin bone to try to keep our foot straight. But what happens is we get this rotation in here, we get the counter rotation out the tibia, and then that foot starts to crash in as well and maybe turn out. So you're getting where this hip drops, this knee jumps in, and now we set ourselves up to get that maltracking of that patella, that leading cause of why we have runner's knee if this just really starts to rub together and to bump into each other. So that's one reason why we like to change the warm-up that's focused on the hips to get the glutes active to maintain this balance. But the truth is when we get to the end of a race and we're fatigued, that's really hard to maintain or even be aware of. But if you have significant knee pain after a race, this might be why, and that's something that we can work towards in the future to help your training program, to help your strength program, and to eliminate this factor where that hip drops, knee caves in, foot turns out to compensate for what's actually happening up here at the hips.